Chair, thanks, gentlemen. For purpose, the gentleman from Texas seek recognition.
Rise in opposition to the amendment.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's nobody in this chamber that is more appreciative than I am for the gentleman from Tennessee and my friend from Michigan standing up for the rights of race, religion, national origin of the Delta smelt, the snail darter, various lizards, the lesser prairie chicken, the greater sage grouse, and so many other insects who would want someone standing for their religion, their race, their national origin. And I think that's wonderful. And I'm grateful to my friend from Michigan for bringing up the Voting Rights Act as well, because as he will recall, when we were taking up the extension of the Voting Rights Act, I pointed out then that I won't. I pointed out then that the Voting Rights Act was continuing to punish present generations for the sins of generations 40 and 50 years ago that now had less racial disparity than the numbers across the country, and that there were new areas where sins had arisen that were not being brought under the punitive provision. And I promised my friend if we would extend that to those areas where there was racial disparity that showed racial discrimination, I would agree. And because there was basically a consent decree between some people on both sides of the aisle, we were overrun, and it took the Supreme Court to point out you can't keep punishing present generations for sins of generations 50 years ago. Now, we're talking about the fish and wildlife lawsuits, and I know that the way it's been going, you've had liberal people in the fish and wildlife who wanted more land, more federal control, teaming up with liberal groups who wanted the federal government to have more land, more control, and take away more private property rights. But I would also ask you to consider, because of what Mr. Collins is proposing, that it may protect interests down the road, because this does require greater transparency. It will not allow some conservative or radical right-wing administration or group in the fish and wildlife to cut a deal with some right-wing radical group, and we never know about it, so nobody can intervene and stop it. The answer here is what Mr. Collins has proposed, so you don't have some group that's directly aligned with somebody in the administration at that point coming together, cutting a sweetheart deal between themselves to the detriment of the race, religion, and national origin of snail darters and other animals and fish and wildlife. So I applaud my friend from Georgia for bringing this bill, and hope my friends will oppose the
I've got to express umbrage at the idea that African American Jews are like snail darters.
The gentleman will take note what this bill is about. It's not about race. It's about endangered species. And if the gentleman can point to an endangered species in this country that is a human being, I am with him 100%. I yield.